Land is not an investment. That is the video I'm gonna make it today. And I know you already, what? Did you just say land is not an investment? And we traditionally agree knowing that is the first investment that you go for when you buy or when you get money. And I'm here to debunk that. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna share with you what then is an investment. This is good, Joseph. In case you're watching me for the first time, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe because I upload such kind of videos each and every day. And leave a comment on the comment section. Probably this video can attract that need of you saying something on the comment section. Please go ahead and say it. Let's get on the business now. Why am I saying land is not an investment? Wow. When I say land is not an investment, this is what I mean. Land on itself as a standalone is not an investment. Guess what it is? It's a shell, are we together? For an investment. Land on a standalone is not an investment, but it's actually a shell that an investment can come from. Are we together? And I'm going to explain my point. Now, what we talk about a shell is something that you can make something out of it. And what happens when you purchase land, let's say probably you're employed or you're having your own business and you buy a land 30, 40, 100 kilometers from far where you are. And then of course you say you have invested. No, you have not invested. The one who sold you the land are the one who have invested. And this is how it goes. You see the way they usually advertise those lands telling you, hey, invest and da-da-da and what have you, but they themselves, they probably don't have the land. This is how it goes. They go buy a chunk of land. Are we together? This chunk of land, let's say maybe it's 20 acres or whatever I think it is. And then they subdivide this land to different sections. Kenya, we have something called 50 by 100. That is 50 feet by 100 feet. That's like 15 meters by 30 meters. And then these chunks of lands, let's say probably they bought this land at around, say, 5 million Kenyan shilling. That's like $50,000 or whatever. And then they start selling this a parcel of 50 by 100 at around 300K. And of course be like, wow, that's not expensive. I mean, 300K is like $3,000. Who end up buying that? See what they do when you talk of an investment, it has a defined period. They buy this land with an aim of selling it by the end of that year. Are we together? But now they are telling you, you who is buying, you're the one who is investing. But them who are selling are the one who are investing. Why? When you get into an investment, they are what we call defined period of time. You buy this chunk of land of 20 acres, you're actually going to buy it at 5 million and you subdivide it into several. By the way, 1 acre of land in Kenya gives you 850 by 100 plots of land, and probably you're selling at 300, you can do the mathematics. So they end up recouping back their money, and of course they make a profit on top of that. Then they go buy another land, they fence it and they call it a certain garden or whatever, then they start selling it. That's now investment. Now that helps me to introduce my point that there are only four ways. How you can make land an investment. There are only 4 ways to make land an investment. Only 4 ways. Are we together? Now, these only 4 ways how a land can only be transformed. Remember what I told you at the beginning of the video. Land is a shell that holds an investment, or is a shell where an investment can be realized. Now, what happens? There are only 4 ways. And if you're not doing anything with this land in these 4 ways, then that is not an investment. Number 1, the only way you can turn land into an investment is one would call farming. You take that land and you farm. The land is producing something out of it. And I know what you're about to tell me. Oh, the land appreciates in value. You know, it does not go down, it goes up. That's the beginning point. And let me tell you one secret. That is what we call paper appreciation. Paper appreciation, it means it's an appreciation that you have not realized. If you buy land at 300K and probably they tell you, hey, there is a highway that is about to pass there. I don't know, there is an airport, there is, I don't know, whatever. Then probably in 1 year, they tell you that this land will be worth 1 million. Now you buy the land and then 1 year ends, then the land is at 1 million. So what happens? Try to liquidate that land. I'm telling you, you're going to see hell on earth. It is very hard to liquidate that land. If I tell you right now, in this phone, how many people are calling me? They have parcels of land. They're telling me, hey, Joseph, help me to sell this land. I'm telling you right now, to find a Kenyan who has that money set aside just to buy a land anyhow. I'm not saying that they are not there. They are there, but the reality is it takes a little bit. Would you imagine if I tell you it's easier to sell a car than a land? Would you imagine if I tell you that? It is way easier to sell a car than a land. Anyway, I didn't say car is an investment. I was just trying to compare and contrast. So the only way you can make that shell, which is a land, an investment, which is generating cash flow, because the land on its own as a land, and I know I'm going to have a very hard time with my senior citizens, those people of 50 years and above. When I say this, I know be like, hey, my goodness, Joseph, you're misadvising people. See, land on its own, it's an asset, but it's a non-cash flow generating asset. It does not generate any cash flow. Are we together? And then you find somebody in the first time of your life, you've gotten $1 million, you've never seen that amount of money. And then you think that what you're suffering from is an investment, it's an asset. You end up buying a land that is not generating any cash flow. Then you get yourself in a problem. Anyway, I was explaining 4 ways how to transform land into an investment. Now, you do farming, meaning that parcel of 300K is generating something for you. Either you do poultry, either you do pig farming, either you do whatever, you do dairy farming, you do farming of plants, like whatever the thing it is, you can set up a greenhouse. That land, you have used it to hold your investment. Am I even making sense? Now, that is one way how you can make an investment out of a land. Number 2, how you can make an investment out of a land is you lease. You lease that land. Probably you can lease to people who can set up a car wash, people who can set up, let's say, a business. You can lease to people who you just lease that particular land. You're paid each and every month or yearly or whichever agreement that you're going to have when you lease, so that you can transform that asset. Sure, you're going to win 2 ways. There is a paper appreciation, and then, of course, there is that cash that is generating or being generated out of that particular land. That is when we say you lease that particular land. And number 2, you have what we call a what? You build rentals or real estate. Let me just call it real estate. Probably if you have the capacity, you can build some bungalows. Maybe you can subdivide the land into 2 or 1, build a bungalow, then resell it. That's now you're making that particular land to generate income, and that's now becoming more of a what? More of an investment than it is of an asset that is generating. Okay, we agree totally. If you put a car here and again, it depends. It's still debatable. It depends, because honestly speaking, let's say I'm in a logistic business, I carry these building stones and whatever and sand and what have you. Here I have a lorry that are being sold for 2.5 million. And here I have a land, a very prime land. That's how they call it. Very prime land at 2.5 million. Honestly speaking, which one would I buy? I would rather go for the lorry that is generating income. I'll be able to use this lorry. Though I know the lorry itself on standalone is a liability, but it's helping me to generate income compared to me buying this land. See, the only occasion where you buy land is when you do not have a problem with cash flow. But you don't just rush with the cash that you have. You drain all your coffers. I've ever seen people doing that. You save until you hit a certain target. Then you end up, draining all your coffers. You buy a particular land 100 kilometers from where you are. Then you go back. Then you walk with this. I told you there are 2 types of securities. We have the emotional security and we have the financial security. So when you buy land that is not doing anything, any of the 4 things that I'm about to discuss, adding the 4th one here, is you sell the land. You buy this land at 300,000, you find somebody whom you can convince to buy at 350, you make that 50, you go back, buy another one, you sell at 350, you go back. Now you're investing. Now you become an investor. But virtue of you buying and leaving it there, I have a friend of mine who bought a land in a place called Nanyuki. It was around 280,000 Kenyan shilling. The guy lives in Nairobi. Actually was transferred to Mombasa. The land is over or close to 700 and something kilometers far from where he is. The land cannot be farmed. He doesn't have a capacity to do either of the 4 things here, but he just saying, hey, I have a land somewhere. Until a certain point, he was telling me, it's so disheartening to know that I have a land worth, well, of course, as he was claiming, by now it's 400,000. He was telling me, it's so disheartening that I'm suffering with cash, and yet I have a land that is worth 400,000. And he has tried to find somebody to buy the land, but nobody is doing so. Things changes, and probably the senior citizens watching me here will be so bitter with me by virtue of making this video, but I'm being sincere. That is how it is. So these are 4 ways on how you can transform this shell, which is a land, to an investment. 1, you do farming. 2, you lease the land to make some cash. 3, you do rental properties there. And number 4, you sell the land. Those are the 3. If you buy land without the idea of this, you're just buying a land just to be said, like, what, I come from a society where, see, if you are a man and you own a land, then you are respected. Apparently, if they have to see the asset that you own, it has to be a physical asset. That's at the time they say now you're successful. But if you told them that I have an equity fund somewhere, if you tell them that, you know what, I own some couple of Bitcoins, or if you tell them, hey, guess what, I have an app that generates a cash flow of probably 400,000 in a month. You know, they tell you, until you buy a land and we see that you can be able to touch that particular property, we believe that you've not actually done something. And that's why they tell people, hey, you know what, as a man, you should supposed to buy a, land and build a home. And by the way, you'd rather even take that money and go buy an apartment somewhere. I mean, if the money is enough to buy that apartment. So what am I saying? Land on its standalone, please guys, let's not view it as an investment. By the way, there is a video I made over 2 years ago, or close to 2 years ago. And I said the same thing. By the way, that video got a lot of views. A lot. Go check that video. Over 1 year ago, almost close to 2 years ago, or probably even 2 years ago, I made such a video. I said, don't buy land. Do this instead. It is there. Go check it out. I explained the same scenario because I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing people doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I also had a friend who got his first million and bought a land, and right now he tells me, Joseph, I wish I knew. Another mistake that people do, you are employed here. This is you are employed. You are getting salary, let's say of salary of 50K or whatever the money that you get. Then you go, maybe you've been saving to your circle for 2 or 3 years. You get a loan of 1.5 million. You go buy yourself a 50 by 100 plot. Now, once you buy that 50 by 100 plot, guess what happened now? See, now the salary that you're earning here, they slash you, say, let's say 20K or 17K or whatever you guys are going to agree. They slash your 20K out of your salary to fund this asset that is not generating any cash flow. Then you pay this land for the next 4 years. You pay that. It's an asset that you're not doing anything. The land just laying idle there. 4 years, and you're being deducted. You have actually sacrificed your cash flow for the sake of an asset that is not generating any cash flow. And these are two different investments. Which one? You is an investment because you used money to study the course that you're actually using those skills to trade them to get money and the money that you're getting there should actually finance that particular course. You'd rather even take that money and go do a master's degree and PhD and what have you, because now you're pumping back the cash to the investment that you did rather than getting that money and buying the land. Because these are two different. And I told you guys, one thing you're supposed to do when it comes to investments, you're supposed to compartmentalize them. Demarcate this investment should survive on its own. And this is why I always tell people, when a rich and a poor person go to borrow money in a bank, when you borrow 1.5 million to buy only a piece of land, they borrow 10. They get a piece of land and they do the real estate inside of that place so that it can generate cash flow. So it's no longer just a land. It's no longer just an asset. It's an investment. It's an asset with something that is generating cash flow. They have actually followed this rule of 4. But this issue of, hey, just buy land somewhere one day to just increase. True, it's increasing, it's appreciating, paper appreciation. But if you don't buy land without any of these 4 reasons, then I'm telling you, it will be very, very hard for you to actually realize wealth because it's not generally being created this way. The only situation where you can buy land outside these 4 ways, it is when you don't have a problem with cash flow. Cash is just there. Cash is coming in, you don't have any problem. You can eat, you can be, you don't sacrifice your cash flow. You can do other things comfortably. That is the only time now you can buy land without having any of these 4 reasons. I understand and I totally agree with you. This is a highly debatable thing because it is a thing that is disturbing the norm, the things that we are used to or the things that we learned. It's like today I come here and make a video and I tell you this is not a hand, this is actually a leg. That disturbs the whole thing that we've been understanding since in ages and ages. So just the thing we are talking about here. And I'm going to try the best I can to show you or explain to you, not because that I know everything, but because I have something that I can share with you. And that's why I always encourage you to leave a comment on the comment section, because I'm a believer that you also have something that I can learn from you. Please bring down all your views on the comment section. Let's discuss. And if you have any question, any clarification, if you find it is worth to make a part 2 of this video, because I feel like I've not yet exhausted everything there. So anyway, if you feel like I would like to, go ahead and explain in details on what is going on here, then we can be able to have a conversation. All right? Yeah, that's how we go by. So traditionally, I grew up in a society where we used to be told the first thing you buy is land, the second thing you build your home, and the third thing you buy is a car. That is not entirely true. It's not. I know somebody who owns excuse me, taxi. Okay, we call them Uber here. He owns 6 taxi cars, these small cars. You know, in Kenya we call them to do. He has 6 of them, and the dude doesn't have a land. And we sat down with him, and he convinced me the money he makes from those cars, it is the money he has invested in that car is close to like 7-ish million there, or 6-ish million there. And the guy tells me that much that is generating me. If I went and buy a very prime land with that 7 million of mine, I wouldn't be generating. And we did some mathematics, and okay, I know that's a business, you can't compare it with an investment. But what I'm saying is, it is not entirely true saying that this is exactly how it goes. Are we together? That's what we call a personal finance, meaning it's so personal to you and very unique to you. And that's why I always tell you, before making any decision, make sure that you contact your financial advisor. And if you'd like me to guide you on anything related on the same, that is my number. You can pick it up there, shoot me a call, let's talk, let's have a discussion. And that's exactly how we grow. My brothers, sisters, let's see you in the next one.